After my sister abandoned her baby on my doorstep, my parents said, "She's your burden now," and I became her mother. 10 years later, they sued me for custody, claiming I'd kept them apart. But when I handed the judge a sealed folder, his eyes widened. He asked, "Do they even know what you have?" I simply nodded and braced myself, ready to finally tell my side of the story. In a quiet corner of my world, a life I had carefully planned was unfolding just as I had imagined. At 34, I was a pediatric head nurse at Memorial Hospital, in a 2-year relationship with an architect named Mark, and on the verge of moving in together. My life was a neat timeline, a testament to my hard work and ambition. That all changed on a rainy Tuesday in October. I had just returned from a grueling 12-hour shift, ready to unwind with a glass of wine and takeout, when the doorbell rang at 9:30 p.m. I almost ignored it, but the persistent chime made me reluctantly answer. On my welcome mat sat a car seat, a thin blanket shielding its occupant from the drizzle. As I pulled back the blanket, I discovered a tiny baby girl, just 3 months old. Her rosy cheeks and wisp of dark hair were a heartbreaking echo of my sister, Amanda. Tucked into the side of the car seat was a folded note. I recognized Amanda's handwriting instantly. "Her name is Lily. I cannot do this. Take care of her. I am sorry." 7 words that shattered my carefully constructed life. My hands trembled as I brought Lily inside. The first person I called was my parents, hoping for their support. Their response was a gut punch that still stings to this day. "We told her not to have that baby," my mother said, her voice like ice. "She made her choice, and now she's running away from it." Typical Amanda. My father's words were even more chilling. "She is your burden now. We are done cleaning up after Amanda." My pleas that Lily was their granddaughter were met with a harsh reply. "We never asked to be grandparents, especially not to the child of whatever random man Amanda hooked up with." They hung up, refusing to offer any help. My next call was to Mark. His reaction was a different kind of abandonment. "A baby? Your sister just dumped her kid on you. That's insane, Natalie. You need to call social services." I begged him to go to a store and get some supplies, but he refused, saying, "This is not our problem. This is exactly the kind of drama your sister always creates. Don't get pulled into it." I hung up, the silence a deafening confirmation that I was alone. I drove to the nearest 24-hour supermarket, still in my hospital scrubs, frantically Googling what a 3-month-old needs. A kind elderly woman working the night shift helped me, her eyes filled with concern as I explained my situation. That first night was a blur of crying, formula, and diaper changes. I took emergency leave from work and filed a police report, but the officers explained that since Amanda had left the baby with a family member, no crime had been committed. My journey as a mother had begun, not by choice, but by necessity. In the chaotic days that followed, my anger at Amanda for her selfish act was immense. But every time I looked at Lily's tiny, trusting face, that anger melted into a fierce, protective love. She was an innocent soul, completely dependent on me. I made a makeshift crib from a dresser drawer lined with blankets and slept on the couch beside her, waking to her hungry cries. As I fed her in the quiet darkness, I whispered a promise I would keep for the next decade. "I don't know what happened with your mom, but I am here now. You are safe with me." Within 2 weeks, it became clear Amanda wasn't coming back. I had to make sweeping changes. I moved to a bigger apartment closer to the hospital, stretching my budget to its limit. The career advancement I had been working towards was put on hold as I reduced my hours to find a balance between work and motherhood. The legal process of temporary guardianship was extensive and expensive. I was fingerprinted, my home was inspected, and my entire life was scrutinized. Throughout it all, my relationship with Mark crumbled under the weight of my new reality. "I didn't sign up to date a single mom," he said during one of our many arguments. "We had plans." The final straw was his suggestion that maybe putting Lily in foster care would have been better for everyone. I ended our relationship, realizing his true character had been revealed. my parents' rare visits offered little comfort. My mother's thinly veiled disapproval and my father's emotional distance left Lily quiet and subdued. They never engaged with her, never offered to help, and their anger at Amanda seemed to have solidified into a general coldness toward us both. Thankfully, I found support elsewhere. My co-workers threw me a baby shower, my neighbor, Mrs. Santiago, became a surrogate grandmother, and I found a community of single parents who understood my struggles. Despite the hardships, Lily flourished. She rolled over, sat up, crawled, and her first word was, "Nana," her name for me. Each milestone was a triumph, a testament to the beautiful life we were building together. Lily's first birthday party was a modest affair, but our small circle of friends made it a joyous occasion. As I tucked her into bed that night, I realized something profound. This child, who had arrived as a responsibility, had become the absolute center of my world. I loved her fiercely, completely, as if she had always been mine. 5 years passed in a blur of scraped knees, bedtime stories, and pancake breakfasts. Lily started kindergarten, a milestone that filled me with pride. Our small apartment had become a warm home, filled with her artwork and our shared memories. My career ambitions had shifted from climbing the hospital hierarchy to creating a stable life for our family of 2. Lily's questions about her birth mother became more frequent, and I answered them with honest, age-appropriate explanations. "She wasn't ready to be a mommy," I would say. "But she made sure you came to me because she knew I would love you very much." To help her understand, I created a storybook about how families come in all shapes and sizes. One day, Lily brought home a drawing of us, surrounded by a heart. "We're a heart family, not a blood family," she announced with the unwavering certainty of a 5-year-old. "And heart families are just as real." I hung the drawing on the refrigerator, a constant reminder of the family we had built together. 4 more years went by, and Lily was now 9, a resilient, creative child with a passion for art and science. Our life was a comfortable, familiar rhythm. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday evening, the phone rang. "Hello, Natalie. It's Amanda." I stepped into my bedroom, my heart pounding. We met at a cafe the next day. Amanda, now 32, looked poised and sophisticated, a far cry from the troubled young woman I remembered. She told me a story of recovery, 7 years of sobriety, a degree in graphic design, and a stable marriage to a wonderful man named Thomas. She wept as I showed her photos of the childhood she had missed. "She is beautiful, Natalie," she whispered. "You have done an amazing job." After months of carefully supervised visits and a fragile, newfound relationship with Lily, Amanda dropped a bombshell. She and Thomas were moving to our city, and they wanted Lily to live with them. "I would like to be Lily's mother again," she said, her voice laced with an unnerving confidence. Thomas interjected smoothly, "A child belongs with her mother when possible. You've done an amazing job, Natalie, but we can offer her a house, a yard, and opportunities you simply can't." I was stunned. This wasn't about reunification, it was a hostile takeover. The situation spiraled when my parents re-entered the picture, supporting Amanda's plan. I learned they had been in contact with Amanda for 3 years, all while maintaining their cold, critical facade with us. Their betrayal cut deeper than anything. They told me I had done my part, and that blood is blood. As we drove home, Lily, sensing the tension, asked if she was going to have to live with her Aunt Amanda. I pulled the car over, unbuckled my seatbelt, and turned to face her. "No, sweetie. You live with me. That's your home. I promise." Her bottom lip trembled. "Cross your heart?" she asked. "Cross my heart," I said, making the gesture that had sealed all our most important promises. 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Amanda was petitioning for custody. I emptied my savings and took out a loan to hire a lawyer, Julia Hernandez. She warned me that biological parents have strong rights, but the length of time I had been Lily's caregiver was in our favor. We began preparing our case, gathering evidence of our stable, loving home. The stress took its toll on Lily, who began having nightmares and her grades started to slip. I arranged for her to see a child psychologist who reported that Lily exhibits significant anxiety about potential separation from her primary caregiver, and that forcing a custody change could result in significant emotional trauma. My private investigator, whom I had hired years ago to find Amanda, discovered something critical. Thomas had been systematically searching for Lily's biological father, a man who had recently inherited multiple millions. It wasn't about love or redemption, it was about money. They were seeking custody to gain control of a substantial inheritance. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place, and my rage was a cold, steady fire. The private investigator's findings, along with evidence of my parents' lies, became the centerpiece of our defense. The courtroom was a tense, intimidating space. Amanda and her husband, Thomas, presented a polished, convincing case, painting a picture of a reformed mother and a stable home. My parents testified, reinforcing their narrative with false claims about my unsuitability and their own attempts to be involved. I sat there, clutching my hands in my lap, feeling each lie as a physical blow. When it was my turn to testify, I spoke from the heart about the 10 years of mothering Lily, a journey of love, sacrifice, and fierce devotion. I was not a perfect parent, but I had always been there. Then, Julia presented the sealed folder of evidence. As the judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Harman, reviewed the contents, her expression hardened. She confronted Amanda, Thomas, and my parents with the truth, the financial motivation behind the custody petition, Thomas's search for Lily's biological father, and my parents' perjury. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as their carefully constructed narrative unraveled. In her final ruling, Judge Harman stated that the best interests of the minor child were served by maintaining her current living situation with me. The petition for change of custody is denied, she declared. The relief that flooded through me was so intense, I nearly collapsed. I had won. Lily was safe. The moment I picked her up from her art teacher's house, her anxious eyes searching mine, will forever be etched in my memory. What did the judge say? She asked. I knelt down and took her hands in mine. The judge said, "You stay with me, sweetheart. We're a family, just like always." Her entire body sagged with relief as she threw her arms around my neck. "You promise," she whispered. "And you kept it." We celebrated that night with a simple feast of pizza and ice cream. I looked at Lily's beaming face as she talked about her day, marveling at her resilience. The path to this moment had been filled with hardship, but it had led us to exactly where we were meant to be. The definition of family I had grown up with had been replaced by a richer, more profound understanding. Family wasn't just who you were born to, but who you chose to love and who chose to love you back, day after day, through every storm and every joy. As we sat on our small balcony, watching the sunset, I knew we had weathered the storm together, our bond tested and proven unbreakable.